It was the first full day of full team practices, and we learned some new things today. We learned some good things, and we learned some bad things. We also learned some like glass half empty, glass half full kind of things, depending on how you look at them. I'm breaking it all down in today's video, including Brock Purdy connecting with a bubble guy in a good way, ESPN naming an epic under-the-radar player, contract updates for Brandon Aiyuk, and oh shoot, Trent Williams, and another offensive player, a big one, a biggie, injured on day one of training camp. Another defensive player injured as well. I'm going to tell you all of that, but first, yesterday, I managed to hit it in the last 5 seconds of my video. I remembered at the very last second, so you may have missed this, even if you watched yesterday's video. The news that Pearsall should be back training with the team as early as next week. They basically broke it down in blocks and said he was going to be injured, or that his injury should probably be taken care of by the end of the first block. He's just missing that first block, so it's a really small, no big deal kind of injury. So you should be seeing Slick Rick out there very soon. If you're new here, by the way, I'm Nate, and we're talking the San Francisco 49ers on this channel every single day. Make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss out on all of the action, and it also, on the as a little bump to me, it helps me out when you do that. So anyway, moving on. The first piece of good news I wanted to break down for you today is this. Danny Gray is staking his claim with this highlight right here. He's staking his claim. An offseason where the faithful have had a lot to talk about in the wide receiver room and very little, including the name Danny Gray. This little move against Isaac Yiadom probably doesn't happen if they're in pads, if we're totally honest. But it still makes a nice little highlight. I have to even just watch it again because it's smooth, man. And as he said, Isaac Nodum right there. I wonder if anyone's ever used that jump. Do you think that joke is new? Nah, I am pretty sure it's not new. The bottom line is Danny Gray is fighting for that 53, and I'm here for it. I'm ready for Danny Gray to be fighting for that 53, which brings me to the question of the day today, by the way. Comment below on this one. Which wide receivers make the 53-man roster this year? Last year, we kept 6 for context, okay? So you got Brandon Aiyuk, Deebo, Juwan Jennings, Danny Gray, Ronnie Bell, and Ray McCloud. If we keep 6 again, and we have to assume that Brandon Aiyuk is still on the roster in some way. There's no reason at this point to think he's for sure traded out. So if he's on the roster, who you got? Who are your 6 wide receivers on the 53? Obviously, I think it goes without saying that Brandon Aiyuk, Deebo Samuel, and Juwan Jennings are locked in. So there's half of your 6 right there. Done deals. You don't give Juwan Jennings a big extension if you're not planning on keeping him around. Same thing, Deebo and Brandon Aiyuk. They're all going to be here, okay? The next one that's kind of obvious would be Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall is your first round draft pick in several years. You're not going to do your first round draft pick a guy and then not play him. If you don't play him, if he doesn't make the team, then you admit a major failure. Obviously, injuries aside. So assuming Ricky Pearsall then is going to be on the roster, that's 4, okay? You've got an interesting one with Jacob Cowing, 4th rounder. Should make the team, but it's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee. He is lightning, but it's not a guarantee. So let's just say spots 5 and 6 have these potential candidates. I'm going to say most likely you're looking at these guys fighting for your spot. So Jacob Cowing is fighting for spots 5 and 6. Ronnie Bell, Danny Gray, and Chris Conley. Those are the guys that are fighting for it. But there are technically some other guys kicking around too. You've got Trent Taylor, who came back, Tariq Owens, and Taylor Martin. So there are a bunch of guys here who are going to be fighting for that wide receiver spot, that WR5, WR6 role. So let me know what you think in the comments, who's going to be there. I think we can all agree that Brandon Aiyuk, Deebo, Juwan Jennings, and Ricky Pearsall are going to be there. So who are your other 2? Does Cowing get his opportunity? It's going to be interesting. Chris Conley did not do enough to make the 53 initially, but then got to play during the season. So that's going to be a fun one. Let me know in the comments what you think. We have a bunch of other news to break down today. Some good news, some bad news, as I mentioned earlier. One particularly disappointing piece of bad news for me, but we'll get there in just a second. Story number one first. Good news. ESPN named Jair Brown as the NFL's best under the radar, one of NFL's best under the radar players. Sorry, one of the best NFL under the radar players. There are a lot of little stipulations to how they pick these players, how many snaps they've had, when they were drafted. I'd be kind of drafted later, all of that stuff. I'm not going to bore you with those details, but I will tell you what they had to say about Jair Brown. Didn't play much on defense in the first half of last season, but entered the lineup to replace Hufanga when Hufanga tore his ACL in Week 11. 49ers defense didn't miss a beat. In fact, the 49ers defensive value over average improved from minus 7.2% before Brown entered the lineup to minus 17.1% in the 6 weeks he played before he sat out in weeks 17 and 18 due to a little knee issue. So that defensive value over average is basically how does your defense stack up? Well, all of those value over average statistics are based on how does this statistic match up against the rest of the league. So defensive value there looking good for the 49ers when Jair Brown was on the field. Okay. He was a rookie though. So I mean, there's a lot of people throwing shade, and I get it, right? No one was saying he had a perfect performance. He is a rookie. If he was better than that, I would suggest you would say he's not an under-the-radar guy. But whatever the case is, it's going to be interesting this season to see what happens and how that goes. Brown makes up for a lack of high-end speed and explosiveness with a high motor and good coverage instincts. He had 10 interceptions in 2 seasons as a starter at Penn State and 2 more last year with the 49ers. His charting coverage metrics weren't great, but the sample size was small, just 11 charted targets. Brown is more of a box safety than a center fielder, but he'll need to do more in pass coverage this year because he'll likely be playing a free safety role with Hufanga returning to play strong safety. So there you go. That's what you have to look forward to. Things to be looking for in training camp too. While Hufanga probably won't be present for a lot of that, it will be interesting to see what happens. Story number 2, Brandon Aiyuk is officially a hold-in. I think we knew that yesterday, kind of expected that. We talked about it a little bit, but that is official. Also, this one kind of sucks. Trent Williams will also stay off the field as he intends to see his contract renegotiated as well. Did not participate in actual, on-field practice stuff. Coach Kyle Shanahan confirmed the reports Wednesday that Williams' absence is contract related. So, there you go. I'll let you sit on that one. Let me know in the comments if you feel burdened by this information in a way that you feel like you need to talk about it. You want to talk about it? Get in the comments. I'm not gonna go deep on that one because I'm like, oh man, we've spent the entire summer, as I mentioned earlier, talking about wide receivers. And when I say we, I mean 49ers faithful in general. I have tried my best not to talk about Brandon Aiyuk every single day on this channel because it would be easy to, and because everyone's already talking about it. And it's exhausting in some respects if all you do is consume 49ers media. You know what I mean? It starts to wear on you after a while. You're like, man, it just feels a little weighty and a little negative, and I just don't want to think about it. People who comment, many of you who are watching this video right now, commenting things like, just get him out of here. Just let him go. Just trade him. That's not because you don't see the value Brandon Aiyuk has on the field. I'm 99% sure. Maybe there's a couple of you out there, but it's because you're sick of the drama, right? That's what it is. So, just seeing this morning throughout the day, checking the media and just being like, oh, shoot. Hopefully this one isn't a big deal. It's kind of a weird one. We talked about this way back when it first got rumored in June. We talked about this as kind of like a what? And it never came back after that. There was that one report and that was it. It was gone. And, it was interesting to look at, though, because of his age. This is his age 36 season, and he's already in contract through the age 38 season. So I'm not 100% sure, is he going to be playing into his 40s? It's hard to imagine. And the biggest concern, of course, for the 49ers is going to be, dude, if you start missing more than 2 games, 3 games a season, then we very quickly are losing money on you, right? Very quickly. And we need that money, obviously, to pay other players right now. The last piece of news, and this is the worst of all of it. I'm sorry I'm ending on a sour note. Isaac Guerendo, I don't know where all my highlights and all that stuff went, but Isaac Guerendo suffers a hamstring injury day 1 training camp. And the real bummer here, if I can get these ads out of the way. So firstly, let's just read what Matt Barrows reported. 2 injuries at practice today. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles limped off the field early on, and then rookie Isaac Guerendo appeared to suffer a right hamstring strain midway through practice. Guerendo has a long history of hammy issues at Wisconsin, and that's the real disappointing thing. So he redshirts his freshman year. He misses the first 8 games of 2019 season due to hamstring issues, limiting him to 6 games. Then the COVID-shortened season, the running back played just 2 games as he missed the rest with another hamstring injury. 2021, poised for a bigger role at Wisconsin, Guerendo unfortunately suffered another injury, causing him to miss the final 9 games of the season. College football season is not very big. You can't miss 9 games. So then finally he goes and has 2 full seasons, 2022, 2023. He's splitting reps. He's not even starting. You know, it's not a good look, guys. This is not a good look. And he was the fastest running back in the draft, which is, I think, why the 49ers took a shot at him. But given his injury history, especially surrounding hamstrings, Guerendo's injury will be one to monitor throughout training camp, and the 49ers maintain the running back room's health through the offseason. The last thing you need is a guy who's not available. That's the last thing you need, and it's pretty unfortunate. So that's the news today. That's the big news today. Let me know in the comments what you think about all of that. Let me know who you think is going to make the 53 for catching the ball this season, the wide receiver room, if assuming 6 spots. And I look forward to joining you there in the comments. And as always, reading them. It takes me time to catch up on the comments sometimes when they start to build up. But I look forward to joining you there as always. Faithful, we are still feeling really optimistic about this season. It's going to be awesome. What a time to be alive.